Morning everybody, Monday, June the 15th today. Hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe, hope you had a great weekend. Lots to get through today again, so let's get to the news headlines. US daily cases still trending fairly flat, some states are up, some are down. US daily deaths though still trending down, which is great news still. Florida daily cases, so you may have seen that we had another spike over the weekend, over 2,500 cases over the weekend, but I'm going to put that in perspective in a minute. Deaths are trending flat, so just because we've got more cases doesn't mean we've got more deaths, which is another great news story. The stats then, cases yes are up, hospitalizations not so much, and deaths not so much. I'm going to go through that in detail when we get to the news, so please stick with that. Some businesses did close around Central Florida because of patrons and staff getting tested positive, so they're doing that of their own volition. It's not a mandated closure by any state or county officials. Protests did continue in Orlando over the weekend, albeit with lower numbers than we've seen previously. Weather up to 90 degrees today. We're going to see more thunderstorms in the afternoon, sun like this in the morning, continuing through the summer really. Dr. Anthony Fauci, who's one of the top infectious specialists in the US, said that normalcy may not return until next year, until a vaccine is created and used. He also had a message explicitly for UK visitors with his interview with the Telegraph over the weekend, which was not to expect summer holidays in the US, and it was likely to go on for months this rather than weeks, so I've got some detail on that as well. I'm going to come back after the detail of the news. I'm going to come back and give my own take on the Dr. Fauci interview and the stats that we've now got from Florida Health. Hong Kong Disneyland opens this Thursday, June the 18th. Not much meat on that bone in terms of what we can expect, but I've got something for you to look at in the news. Temperature checks are going to be happening. Well, they happened from yesterday actually. So an MOU has been signed with the cast members at Disney so that they now undergo temperature checks when they arrive at work. And contactless security now in operation, starting to be rolled out at Disney Springs. This could be fantastic for the parks. And then Volcano Bay reached capacity on Saturday, so that's the first park I've heard since parks reopened that reached capacity, but they do only have around 1,500 spaces per day. So that's the headlines. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, hit that notification bell and press all. You'll get this news 6 days a week right now, and then something a bit different on Sundays. If you find this valuable, please do hit the like button. That helps the algorithm apparently, and I get maybe some more views. So yeah, if you're finding the channel valuable, please do hit that like button. Okay, let's go to the news. New daily cases on Saturday was 21,954 and yesterday was 20,004. The average number of cases per day in the US has stayed pretty stable since May 27th. The number of deaths recorded in the US was 702 on Saturday and 331 yesterday. That number of 331 was the least since March the 25th. In Florida on Saturday there was another jump in the number of cases recorded at 2,625, while 1,972 cases were recorded yesterday. Saturday saw 47 deaths, while yesterday the number was 6. The current week has seen 10,664 positive cases, and that's a 6.11% positive rate. That's higher than the previous 2 weeks. If we look at the number of hospitalizations this week, that number stands at 934 with 1 day to go. That percentage is higher than last week but lower than the week ending 6/1. If we then turn to deaths, which is the ultimate metric, we had 219 so far this week with 1 day to go. 0.13% of all positive cases therefore resulted in death. That percentage is lower than week ending 6/1 and the same as last week. There were no comments from either Florida Governor Ron DeSantis nor Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings over the weekend. As a result of the increase in the number of positive tests, some businesses in Central Florida have decided to close after guests and staff tested positive. They've done this by themselves. There's no county or statewide mandate to close any businesses at the moment. Protests continued in Orlando this weekend, but the numbers were counted in the hundreds rather than the thousands. No arrests were reported. Weather in Orlando over the next 10 days, we're going to get to 90 degrees Fahrenheit here today, which is 32 degrees centigrade, and the usual mix of thunderstorms and sun. We'll get to 93 degrees Fahrenheit next Sunday and Monday. US infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci said that normalcy may not return for another year. This follows spikes and an increase in hospitalizations in some states. In an interview with UK newspaper The Daily Telegraph, Dr. Fauci also said that the lifting of travel restrictions to the UK may be months away. The UK accounts for around 5% of all visitors to Orlando, but it accounts for around 2/3 of all international visitors. Effective from yesterday, all Disney employees working in operating areas will now undergo a temperature check when they arrive for work. This is in addition to the health screening checklist that cast members were abiding by prior to this Memorandum of Understanding being signed. It was announced yesterday that Hong Kong Disneyland, which closed on January the 26th, will open this Thursday, June the 18th, to the public. As with Shanghai Disneyland and the announcement for Walt Disney World in Florida, social distancing will be put in place and there'll be increased sanitisation around the park. Both masks and temperature checks will be required to gain entry to the park, and guests will be required to book reservations online up to 7 days in advance in order to maintain crowd control. Magic Access members, who are the park's annual pass holders, will get priority for booking reservations. Over the weekend, Disney Springs started to roll out a contactless security system in the Lime parking garage. This avoids the need for physical bag checks, and more than 3,600 people per hour can be processed through this system. If used in all of Disney's parks, bag check lines could be a thing of the past. At BioReconstruct snapped this photograph of a sign saying Volcano Bay was at capacity on Saturday. Remember that Universal Orlando does not run a reservation system, so the first you'd know about this is when you turned up at Volcano Bay. So concentrating then on stats and Dr. Fauci and his kind of shockwaves to people who want to travel from Britain. So if we look at the stats, yes, cases are up, and the percentage of positive cases is up, but that in itself doesn't tell the whole story. I've now got some stats on hospitalizations and more on deaths. So hospitalizations don't seem to be going up that much, which is great. So whilst the positive rate is increasing, hospitalizations are not keeping track with that. So it seems that more people are getting infected, but less people are having to go to the hospital. And then deaths aren't increasing really at all. You know, we've actually come down in deaths a little bit. So that is a good trend. And I'm going to keep looking now at tests, number of tests, positive tests, hospitalizations and deaths, just to keep an eye on everything that's going on across the spectrum. So Dr. Fauci used to be the guy that was rolled out by President Trump at the news conferences, and there hasn't been one of those news conferences now for a while. And towards the end of those news conferences, I think Dr. Fauci was saying something different to what the party line from the president was. So there was a bit of a falling out there. So I don't know whether, first of all, I don't know why he gave the interview to the Telegraph. I don't know whether he was prompted to do that, whether he asked to do that or what. And then when he said that it's likely that there wouldn't be any flights from the UK or UK admittance into the US for months rather than weeks. Well, I don't know what that means. What does months mean? Is it 2 months, or is it 6 months, or is it somewhere in between? I always thought it was going to be around August, maybe early September, before flights resumed from the UK. So that falls bang in what he was saying, doesn't it? Months. It's months. It's June today. Sorry, June the 15th. So July the 15th, August the 15th would be 2 months. September the 15th would be 3. So I wouldn't be panicking right now about, there's going to be no flights from the UK for the rest of the year, say, or you know, the US is going to be closed to the UK until 2021. That's going to be interpreted differently by different people. So we won't know until the White House says something about flights resuming. We won't know. All that the UK can do is get its coronavirus cases under control and then see what the US does. You know, we're not in great shape at the moment in terms of, here in the US, in terms of how many people are getting the virus, but the hospitalizations and deaths do seem to be going down. You'll see that trend that I give you every morning for US deaths, and that is still trending down. So that's good news. So yeah, I wouldn't be overly worried today about what Dr. Fauci said. I don't know whether there's going to be more on this coming through, but I'll be keeping an eye on it. But yeah, to round this out, nothing officially from the White House or any government body that has dealings with restrictions on air travel or any travel into the US. Nothing at all. That's as it was last week. Okay, I'm going to leave it there today. Said enough. So I'll be back here tomorrow with more news. I'll see you then. Until then, stay safe, take care. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.